here. If you're watching this when I'm not live, I'm still glad you came and dropped by and are hopefully enjoying whatever it is I'm going to be doing. I always start with show and tell or something similar to that as people start getting in before I start making things. I got this book, Great Painters and Great Paintings. It's a Reader's Digest. It's a huge book. And I got it because, well, it had one of Vinny's pictures, his sunflowers. That's Vincent Van Gogh. He's my bud. But it has all of them. And this is an older one. It is, not like really old, but where's the copyright? I looked at it before. I can't. Do I not? I don't know. I looked up the copyright before, but I will probably use this not as a reference book so much as I will use it to make a journal or cut out pieces and use them in an art journal. So I love this because I could cut out each of these famous artists. These are self-portraits, or in some cases they were painted by someone else, but they're of the artist. So I'm excited for that. It's got wonderful plates in it, and it has information about each artist. So back in the day on my art channel, I used to have an interview with an artist, and I would find out. So if I was doing Francisco Goya, I would say, today we're going to meet Francisco Goya, and I would go through all that. Hi, Cindy. And I would introduce you to him and show you some of his paintings. I don't know if I'll do that again. It was fun. He did nudes, so I won't show those. Sorry. If you're a delicate kind of person, I apologize for shocking you with a nude. But yeah, so I would do that. I might do that again. It's fun. I had fun doing it because I love art history and I love introducing you both to masters like this. This is Marc Chagall. But I also love introducing you to current artists. And so I might start that again. Who knows? I don't have a lot of time right now. I'm busy. My husband and I got going on my website today. So I hate websites. Just hate them. But I have several kits coming available for both jewelry and painting, and I need a place to sell it. And I don't really want to do it through Etsy because they take so much out in fees. So we're getting my website back up, and I will hopefully be doing that. I also got accepted into an art show. It's a traveling art show. It's international. It started out here in America, and it's run by Tom. It's called Pancake and Booze. So it's just like it sounds. They make pancakes, and then they're in a place that can sell liquor or alcohol. And then they have in Denver anyway, they have between about 175 to 300 different artists throughout the venue. And people come in from 8 to 2 usually because it's, they have their liquor license. So it usually closes at 1 or 2. And you can put up 10 pieces, and you're only charged for 10 pieces. I think they raised it to $15 now. They give you 2 free pieces. So I got accepted into that show. I've been doing it for a couple of years now. I usually sell 2 or 3 paintings, sometimes more. I haven't done one. I didn't do the one in July. I backed out because it was the weekend we got back from our vacation. So it'll be November 4th. And my husband doesn't know, but I did apply to get into 2 art vendor kind of shows. One right before, it was like right before Halloween. It's on my birthday weekend. So I think it's the 23rd. And then in October. And then one that's a market that runs for 2 weekends after Thanksgiving. So I'm hoping I get into those too, because that's my biggest sales time. And since I'll have both my jewelry and I'll have some paintings, new ones and old ones. I hope those go through. Oh yes, I didn't see Carrie's. I haven't watched that one. But yes, I would do something like that with these guys. I have an idea of doing a journal book and cutting each one of these out and then like having it be flip and have them like an ID card kind of thing. But they would have, you know, it'd be like a tab, like not as big as a file folder, but it would have that kind of tab like a file folder, and we could flip through and look at them and then have their paintings behind it and stuff. So I kind of have an idea for what I want to do, but we'll see. I paid $2.99 for it. It was not on sale, but I did go ahead and get it because it was only $2.99 and I had immediate ideas. Next, I got my second, my really big Temu haul. Really, really big. Too big. And in it, most of it was beads and such, but I did get some other things, watercolor things. I got this watercolor pad. It is 140 pounds. It's a 7-inch round. This is the cover. So it's a 7-inch round. It is a block, which means that it is glued down so it won't warp on you, and they leave one part unglued and you stick a butter knife or it came with a tool, but I already lost it in my front room while I was watching TV with my husband. We were watching a movie. But so I'm excited to try that. And we're going to paint on it tonight. So I paid $4.49 for it. I think it's regularly $7.99. Either way, it's still pretty good for 24 sheets. They are 140 pounds. It's by Tavolaza. I don't know. I've never heard of them, but they do sell them on Amazon. I didn't look at the price tonight because I didn't. So we're going to have that one. And then this is from Amazon. So I'm always looking for exciting. Let me move that water so I can show you the whole. There we go. I'm always looking for 100% cotton paper because that's really what you want to paint on in watercolor if you can afford it. So I'm always looking for affordable ones. And this was one of the ones that came up. So I went ahead and bought this. It is a block also. Blocks are usually more expensive than like just a journal or like a spiral bound or a flip book, of watercolor. But this was actually a really good price. So it is, and it's a weird weight. It's 160 pounds, which it's from an Asian company. I could see that from the lettering here. And that may be a standard there. Here, it's 140 or 300 pound paper. And it's like a funny, they use like A5, you know, they have their standard sizes. They're not American standards. So it's 10.6 by 7.7, and it is 100% cotton. It's by Leyton, Leyton. And let's see, they do a lot. They have lots of papers. So I bought it on Amazon. It was $17.99. It's 160 pound. It was cold pressed. And the other thing that impressed me about this brand is that their watercolor paper is double-sided, which means the texture is the same and the way it's manufactured is exactly the same on the top as it is the bottom. So you can use them front to back. So it's also good for that. And you usually don't see that. You did get those. I won mine, and they will be here in the next week or so. So I'm very excited. I already have my palette ready for them. So when you get a block, you open it up and it shows you where to open it because there's a gap in the glue, and you just stick something under there that's flat that won't hurt the thing. But it comes with a cover. It's standard on all block issues. It did not have a cover with the round one, but the cover itself is heavy and was protecting it. So I've always had that. So you have to take off the cover, and I was just plain sketching on this one. So you take that off. It is a nice piece of paper. It's not a watercolor paper, but I will probably ink this in and then add whatever I'm going to with it. It's a wonderful piece of paper. And the better your block is, like 100% cotton and such, the better that piece of paper is. Then I also got this tape. It's like ½ inch maybe. Where's my ruler? I didn't remember to look. It is No, it's not a half inch. It's like, I don't know. It's not quite a half inch. I'll show you. So there's the 10. It's not quite a half inch, but it's more than a quarter inch, whatever that is. I'm not a ruler person. I don't do measurements, but I am putting up a video of watercolor techniques. So on here, I'm going to have, I'm going to do it this way. And the top one will be table salt, then rock salt or Himalayan salt. And then the bottom one will be rice. And I'll show you the effects that has when you use watercolor. So I taped that off. So I wanted to show you that. Oh, yeah, good. Yeah, I know. I'm kind of excited. They're big tubes. So that's coming, and I will show you guys. I always write it in permanent marker. Usually I do my experiments and I write them in Sharpie. So tonight I'll write them and then I'll let it sit overnight. And then tomorrow I'll actually do the experiment and film it and then show you what it looks like once the paint dries. And I have this one for texture. And then I have a second one that has 3 more ways to get texture. So that's what that is. Then I blocked off another painting that I want to try. I drew this. And yeah, you're not going to be able to see quite all of it. I think I'm going to start with this one because I'm more comfortable with it. I know it's very light. I will get you down. Oops, that's not the right thing. I will get you down here so you can see there is a drawing on here. It's an abstract stem of a flower. And so it will be abstract. I usually lay down my paint first and then go back with the drawing. But this time I did the drawing because it was off an inspiration piece. So that's what that's going to be like. There we go. So you can see that. And I will probably go over this with my eraser and make it even less visible. Because once you put watercolor over graphite, it won't ever come off. So you want to make sure you do it as light as possible, and then you won't have near the problem. This one, I don't know. You can see this one. I did a little darker. So I was kind of in the mood to do something for fall. So I was looking through Pinterest and Google for images to get ideas. And they had a lot of moon with witches and stuff, but I didn't, and they had leaves. My husband was like, draw an acorn with a leaf, which I love that idea, but it wasn't too exciting to me. So I was like, And I had this round paper. So I thought I would draw a sliver moon and then put mushrooms in it. And I'm going to give this to my daughter. I don't know if I'm going to save it for her birthday or what. If it turns out good, it's going to become a sticker and probably a print. So, because I'll need some new things like that for my sales. For the for gifts and stuff, because stickers run between $3 to $5 depending on the size, and prints run what are my prints? I think they're 12 for an 8 or a 5x7 or an 8x4, 8x5. I don't remember, but so that's probably what this is going to come out to. And so I haven't ever done a moon like this with mushrooms. I've done mushrooms. Moons aren't something I normally do. So I don't know. This is the one I'm most excited about though. And I don't have any of my erasers in here. So I will use, I hate these. So when you're doing watercolor, you don't want to use a colored eraser typically. You want to use a white one, or they have the squishy art erasers that are kind of like a clay, and you can dab that on and it will take off most of the stuff. And then you don't have, like here, I'm going to have residual stuff on here, eraser gunk stuff. So you don't want to just brush that off. And for health reasons, you probably shouldn't blow it because you don't want it in your atmosphere. I do have a HEPA filter in here, but I don't have it set up, of course, because I do that. So you should take, let me see, I happen to have these brushes I can use. These are distress brushes. in college, they had us buy a brush that was about this thick, and about the brush part, the bristles were about that long, and then it had a handle, and you brush stuff off. If you were doing pastels or charcoal, or if you had erasers. I don't think I have that brush anymore. I've over the years wanted it back. At the time, I didn't ever really use it. I just glue stuff. But this is one of the Tim Holtz Distress brushes that comes in a pack of 3. This is the biggest one. It's fairly firm, but it will get those off. So that, and you also don't want to do it with your hand, because your hand has oil on it. Oil becomes a resist for watercolor. So that's why I did it that way. So I think we're going to start with this one. We'll see how this goes. This may be like, okay, and I'm going to bring you in closer, which is this button. Maybe one more closer. There we go. So yeah, it's a sliver moon. And then I've got 4 mushrooms and some leaves. And I didn't get that all. This I kind of revamped it as I went along. So who knows how this will turn out. So let's see. I'm going to, I had my brushes out. Where did they go? Okay. So the 2 brushes I pulled out to do this, I have my clean water jar there. I have a paper towel here. I'm using my Paul Rubens. These are some of my favorite paints. These aren't too expensive. I think you could get this set for maybe $47.99 on Amazon, which isn't too bad. These are, that one's coming out and it bugs me. I am both your viewers. Okay, that's all right. These are professional paints. They just didn't come in the tubes. I just bought this set because I had never used Paul Rubens before. They're the best. I love them. But so yeah, this is a 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. It does not have white, but it does. Oh, maybe it doesn't even have black. I can't tell if that's black or Payne's Gray. Oh, that may be Payne's Gray. So it doesn't come with white or black, which is awesome. You're not wasting your money for those 2. So I'm going to use, this is a number 10. This is one of my favorites. It's a silver black velvet. I think the number 10 is probably maybe $20, maybe $18. So yeah, this is an expensive brush. I have had this brush, I would say at least maybe 8 years, and it's still pretty good. And then this one is a Princeton Neptune, which I like the Princeton Neptune line. They aren't as expensive. This is a number 8. So these are only 2 away. So this would be an 8, and then you go to 10. But look at the size difference. So there aren't standards in watercolor brushes. And the Neptune line, which is a wonderful line, the 10 would be smaller. It wouldn't be quite as bushy, I don't think. But both of these were really great. They are, I think the Neptune line, I think both of these are synthetic fibers. So I don't particularly, to me, it doesn't matter. The art industry uses leftovers, and it's not like making brushes is something that is taking a lot of animals' lives. Squirrels is who they use. They also use mink and such. So I'm not as concerned about that. I know there are lots of people that are, but that isn't one of my driving things when I buy brushes. Actually, I usually buy them for cost, so I wait till I can get them on sale. So I dip this in clean water, and you can see the shine. Yep, there. See the shine on my paper? That's where the water is. And I'm going to go in and I kind of think I want to make the moon I think I'm going to stick with the oranges and golds for it. Oh, and the other thing is these paints, you can see that they're kind of dirty. My granddaughter used them a couple of years ago, and without me knowing that she was using them. And she used acrylic. So I had to clean them. And then I've only used them a couple times since then. That's what happens when you have a little budding artist in your house sometimes. And she just thought she could get paints and not ask. So she didn't really get in trouble for it. It's okay. I could clean them. Her mom offered to buy me another set. I'm like, no, I'll clean them and I'll use them till they're gone. And then I'll probably buy some more. So I did put that water down, and then I left white spaces in there because the moon isn't solid. You know, we call it the piece of cheese. So I'm dragging that yellow down into the rest of my moon. And it's okay if it gets in this as an underpainting. Yellow is a good color to have as an underpainting. Watercolors don't necessarily prescribe to underpainting. So what that means is you use a light wash. If you watch Mira Byler, she usually paints in oils, although she does paint in other things. And she always does an awesome undercoat of like a bright color that you wouldn't expect. But it's just the way to start. And oil painters and a lot of acrylic painters do that. And so I learned to do that, well, because I took those classes too. And so I have always kind of done underpaintings. It brightens your watercolors, whatever you're using it for, and it tends to add a depth and a warmth to your painting. Not necessarily like the color warmth, because you know this is more of a warm yellow, but there are cool yellows too, like the lemon yellow, and I'll use them too. So it just depends. This will brighten it, and it will look like there's some reflecting light under it. So as that dries, I've got my fan on, so it's blowing on this direction. I don't like how dark that is, but that's okay. A lot of this, like I said, I want to go in after I do the main painting, and I'm going to go back in and do kind of like a reverse painting where I'll go in and add the atmosphere behind it. And I want it to be kind of dark and moody. I don't think I'm going to add gold foil to this, but that drawing I did on the extra paper, this one I'm going to add gold foiling to. I'm going to try that technique. And so I will probably do this in pencils and watercolor pencils, and then go in so it's not very moist. And then I'm going to add foiling to certain spots on it. Maybe gold and silver foil. I love using foil, and it's not something you usually see in watercolor, but I love doing it. So I will probably do that. So I've got that going. My mushrooms, like I said, I have 4. I have a long, tall one, a short, stubby, and then these 2 main ones. This is the main one. I want that to be a red. So my paints, I did not spritz them first, so they're dry. And I'm going to dab it off because I don't want it too wet. And I'm going to go in here and, oops, see how bright that is? And I am using this huge brush. I tend to use a very big brush for almost all my stuff. I like a bigger brush. I feel like I have more ability to do things because it holds more water and more paint. So I like that. Now, when you have a good brush like this, it goes to a point, so I can hold it straight up and down and get a very good point on my piece. So I'm just going in here, and that's allowed me to have a pretty good wedge. I'm noticing the fibers in this paper are a little loose, so it's going out. You can see it's feathering a little bit there where there was water. That's okay. Like I said, this paper is something new. I've never tried it, and it's not 100% cotton. So I am switching to the number 8 Princeton Neptune. You don't have to have expensive brushes or paint or any of that. I started out working with Canson, and Montvale is bought by Canson. So, and they are doing cotton and wood pulp together, which is a nice combination because they're able to keep the price down, but you do get a lot of the same abilities because the cotton structure is in there. I think it's usually 25 to 50%, usually 45, but and I like that. So yeah, it does. I am noticing that the fibers in here it's a wood pulp, so the fibers are different, and I am noticing a little bit of difference, and that it does seem to spread a little, which is fine. You learn how to control that, and you learn how to get your effects the same way. So I was able to get a pretty solid line there. There's a little bit that's out, but that feathering is indicative to watercolor, so I'm not unhappy with it per se. Let's see. I'm going to use some yellow ochre, which is probably this one. And now I'm going to put it on a mushroom, and it's dry. So I'm going wet and more like damp to dry. There's a little guy down here that I started out with. So I dropped in some paint. I think I'm going to bring you down, maybe one more. I know you can't see the me picking up the paint, but I'll tell you what I'm doing so you'll get the gist. But I think you get more out of it when you could see what I'm doing. And I do have my okay, there's still red in my brush because I just washed it real quick off. So the red is actually pulling down more than the yellow ochre here, which is okay. It's good to have your colors repeat throughout. Just adding that little red will help the eye move a little. So, and it's smearing there too. So I don't know that I'm going to be able to control that. And I'll just build that into the look, which is okay. I am going to rinse my brush out a little bit better. Okay, it's pretty good. I am only using 1 jar of water right now. I have a second jar somewhere on my desk. I can't see it though. I've got a red and yellow ochre. I want an orange, but this is a very bright orange. So what I'm going to do to mute that a little is I'm going to grab some of the yellow ochre, and that helped mute it down a little bit. And then I'm going to grab a little bit of the red, and that's going to give me more of a brown, see, instead of that bright orange. In fact, it may be closer to the yellow ochre than I want. So I'm going to add a little bit more red to that. Yeah. So sometimes it's a trial. Oh, that's the color I wanted. Sometimes it's a trial and error. I mixed it up pretty dry, so it was more of a creamy consistency. Now I'm going to go in. And I move, you see how I move my paper around? I do that. There are people that don't. One, it's going to help you in the long run because you're not flipping your hand back and forth and all around. So don't be afraid to do that. It's your painting, and you can make it move however you want. I think I'm going to I was going to put it next to it, but it's a fairly close color. So I think I'm going to move it up here to this one. And I did water it down. So there you see. I can't really see I think the underside goes like this on this one. I'm not sure. Does it really matter? I'm not making real true to life true to life mushrooms. And I did leave, you can see I left white in that one. I did not, there's a little white left in this one. I don't know if you can see it. It's right there. I didn't leave any white in this one, which is fine. If I do decide, this paper is a cream color. It is not true white. Here, my paper towel's true white. You can see the difference. This is just a nice unbleached paper. Okay, so I got that, and you can tell there is a difference in the two colors. I hope I can tell. And then I want this one right here to be kind of a mushroomy color. So I'm going to find a brown. This is probably burnt umber. And you can't see that. I do have a new setup coming where I'll be able to put, because I have some bigger paintings that I wanted to show you guys. I'm actually, round is something I don't know that I've ever painted round. Okay, there we go. And that's like a true mushroomy color, very watered down. And I left a little bit of white in him, not enough probably. I can probably soak up some of that there. There we go. That's looking pretty good. Now this brown color, that true mushroom color, that's going to be the color of my stem on this guy. So I'm going to, and I'm not making it real dark now. I just need to fill it in so I know, kind of know where my moves are for the the green. And I'll probably actually, I don't want that one to be this color. I'm going to put this one this color, and it's getting lighter, which is fine because right now I'm just kind of blocking it in. There we go. And it is drying. We got up to 99 today here. So we've had my air conditioning running. We don't have a humidifier here in this house, and it does get very dry. Let's see what this one is. I don't tell you the colors because we all have different paint sets. And in the end, you need to decide your color scheme. I wanted this to be fall, so I am using a lot of colors that are kind of indicative to fall. So, you know, the burnt siennas, the raw umbers, oranges and reds. This right here was probably, it was scarlet, which is a more blue or cool tone, while the rest has been very warm, but it's nice to have a punch of color like that. And I will probably add a little red maybe under this one. These two don't have undercarriages. At least I didn't draw them that way, so I don't know. Okay. There we go. And I don't know. I wasn't really happy with how I'm going to put, this has got the rest of its stem. I'm doing it in two colors. I can't really see. I don't think there's a twig in there. So I can't say that I was like thrilled with the way my foliage turned out, but I knew that I could color correct, or I could correct that. I may actually, I don't usually switch my brushes up enough this much, but I had someone ask if I ever did that, or did I always just usually use one. So I wanted to show you, this is a size 3 round. So, and this is the set. This is the Zhuting. This was a set from Temu, and I think it was like $4 for, and you got like 10 or 12 of them, or 6 or 8 of them. I mean, they went up to size 12, I think. So I'm going to use this. So it's a very liner-like one. I'm going to use, I think this color right here. Yep. This is, I can't even see the color on this one. This is a brown. And so I'm going to work, it's damp in some areas, but most of it has dried. I have a stem right here that becomes a leaf. So I am going to add a little bit of that in there. I don't necessarily work light to dark. Like you could see, I put some reds and some of those in, but I work in washes and in layers. And by doing that, I'm able to work around on my painting and get things put in that maybe if you worked typically light to dark, you would not do. So, And that's all. I mean, the rule is you always work light to dark in watercolor, because you cannot, it's transparent. So you cannot cover up yellow. You can't cover up a brown with a yellow. So, that's a rule I've noticed over the years. That's a rule that I typically don't follow with how I paint, but I understand the rule, and there are times when I lay it down first. But to be honest, for the most part, I do it however I'm feeling moved to do it. I paint more instinctual. I did do a plan tonight for you guys, because I don't usually do it that way for you. I usually just paint. And I had a girl that I met at an outing for Denver Watercolor Association. And she was like, I'm not comfortable with doing what, she was watching me. She's like, that's amazing, but I'm not comfortable doing that way. So are you like opposed to putting pencil down and doing your drawings first? So I realized that may be something that other people have thought as I work. That's just the way I like to work. I used to work I would always have a drawing. And in a lot of ways that makes it a lot easier, because you know what steps you're going to take. You're going to first outline, and you're going to, add things. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. As I've grown and changed in my art practice, I have gone more to loose. I like a looser painting, and not like this is pretty tight right now, but it's going to be fairly loose once I go back in and add the colors in the background and everything. I'm not going to like paint it out. It's going to be a loose, watery look back there. So it will eventually look more my style. But I do this more illustrative style when I'm going to make something such as a card, or like I told you guys, I was looking that I wanted to make a couple different stickers. So I tend to do more illustrative work when I'm doing stuff like that. And I like it. I don't have a specific style, I guess. Some people call it style hopping. I like to explore and change things up. I get bored easily, even with my art. And so I like to try new things. My husband's always chagrining, because he's like, you only paint flowers. And I paint a lot of animals too, but I do paint a lot of flowers. That's my comfort zone. But I changed the way I paint it over the years. I have, and once I get my website up again, you will be able to look in the gallery and see my old works along with my new works, which is, I think, always fun to be able to see that. So I went through and I've added some brown in some places, because I want to pull it all through. I'm now going to use this little brush. Well, no, I think I'm going to move back to, oh, goodness gracious, I just stuck my hand in the paint. So I got my big brush out again. I'm wetting it down. It's not dripping, but it's full. And I'm going to put it over here. I'm going to lift you up a little bit. See, there's this puddle of orange here. I'm pulling it up and making my brush pick up some of the pigment, but not a lot. And now I'm going to go back into here. Let me move you again. I'm sorry I'm moving you around. I just think you'll probably get a better experience. And the yellow is very dark in certain places. So I'm going to go in here and put some orange in, just in a few places. I mean, this is still the beginnings, but I do want to have the colors to move your eye around a bit. And I think I don't have that picture in here. I do have a witch's hat I did that's large. It's like 18 by 24, I think. And I did that with watercolor and ink. And it's never sold. Most of my pumpkins have always sold. But I think that I will, I need to get that wet again. I will I will take some pictures of that and also put it up so you guys can see some of the Halloween stuff I have, because I think it's always fun to see that. I'm not a big Halloween fan. My daughter and her husband and then my granddaughter are all very into it. A mushroom is bulbous, so if it was here, it would come up and around. So I'm leaving places where the light would hit it in this area right here. See how I kind of left that area right there? As it goes on, it will, those will become highlights and those will show up different. Now let's see. We need some green in here. I'm getting kind of with all this color. I need some more color. So I'm back to using my little brush, and I've got some green. So let me see here. If I put this, I don't want to get that on there. I'm going to put my green over here. And I just picked over here because it already had some green on it. I did clean it, but I never clean it fully. So I've got, there was a drop of water on there. So when there's a drop of water up here on the ferrule where the metal is, I tap it down. I'll show you. I tap it down like this so that bead of water doesn't fall onto my painting. And you don't want to do it over your painting because it might fall in there. So I'm going to add in, I have leaves drawn out, and everyone makes their own leaves, and they have, you know, you kind of have your formulas of what your leaves look like. So one of the ones I always do is kind of just a round, an oval shape, and they come off the stem at the same place on each side. So that's very common in my leaf shapes. I don't always like that. You can, you start having shapes that you make and that become yours. And if you don't remember, a good thing to do is have a sketchbook or a cheaper watercolor book where you can just put examples of, it's like having a doodle or a mark making journal. That way you can't, if you can't think of what shape you want, you can go back in there and just look. So it becomes a reference of your style in there. So I got those added and I like the way that's looking. So that's a good thing. Now I don't want to use that exact color green again. So I'm pulling that color green out, but I'm going over here in the yellow or in the orange, and I'm adding orange to it. Now that's going to make a brown, much browner green, which is what I want for this next stem here. Now these leaves, they come out from the stem, which I had just kind of blocked in, and then they're bigger. So if you had a brush, I don't want to do it on here. Oh, this would be a good thing to do it on. So if you had a big brush, I'm not going to do it in that color too. I'm going to show you. So this is a round brush. If you pull it down and wiggle out and up, that's one that can be a leaf, or you can do that same shape. You're using what shape the brush naturally makes, and then you can go in on the other side and pull it down. And then you've got a leaf shape. And maybe you don't want it quite that open in the middle. And yeah, I know I did them in blue, but I thought you could see it better that way. But yeah, so you use your brush to your advantage. If you want to make spiky ones, you want to take your brush and hold it up and down. So I'm holding it straight up. I'm going to make a, like, oh, where's my Where are you? Oh, there. So I held my brush straight up and went like that, and it tails off as you flick it. And then if you want spikes coming out, you just, and the harder you push, the more they come down like that. And if you don't, you can do very light, and you can put them close together and it'll look like a pine leaf, like a pine tree, kind of like what you get at Christmas. And you want them kind of to go every other direction. And then your stem would keep coming down like this, and you just add more. And they get shorter at the top and lighter if they're behind, and longer as they get closer. The lightness of it helps recede. It will look further behind than this one. And it adds a layer. And you don't want them all to come out the same direction, because if you look at a pine tree, they don't necessarily do that because it's a round structure. So that's a pretty good pine tree. And I might actually pull out the stem a little bit, yeah. So if I turned it this way and enlarged it, that would be a good Christmas tree start too. So that's kind of how you think. If you have a flat brush, let me grab if you have a dagger brush, this is a dagger. See how it curves? So you get that wet. I'm going to put it in green this time. I'm going to get it wet. Sorry, my green's not very wet. And you use this to your advantage again. You do that same shape that I did with the round, only I held it flat this time. And I'm going to hold it flat there. That's a different shaped leaf. But if you bring it down like that, you've got a different shaped leaf. If you hold the brush up, so it's parallel or perpendicular. I don't know. It's straight up and down from the paper. You take it, you press, and then you pull back. Oops. I see. You hold it straight up and down. You press and pull up. So those can either be individual leaves, or you can go back. I'm going to knock that water over. You can go back and start at the fatter end and press there and come down. And press and come down, press and come down, press and come down. And then we need a little stem in here. It would be coming up like this. I'm trying to get some brown in there. Up like that. And it kind of like a palm tree. And it's blowing over this way. And you can bring them up like that. But you're using your brush. You're taking advantage of the shape of your brush. That's why we have different brushes. It's not important that you have them when you start, but as you can build, I suggest buying one dagger or one cat's tongue. This is a cat's tongue. It looks like a tongue. And this is good for flat, like, let's go back to the blue. We're right here. You press, and that's what you get out of a cat's tongue. But if you're making fences, that's great for a fence post. Or if you're making, I don't know what else you'd be making that you need that straight line like that. You can also hold it straight up and down. Remember, you don't just have to hold your brush one direction. You can get nice lines with it like that. You can also, so I'm holding it like I hold a pencil. I'm going to push it down. I hope there's enough paint in it. I'm going to push it down. And then pull, twist and pull. Push it down, twist and pull. So you get, see, that is how you get a fish. You may not be able to see it real well, but see, this would be, that's his fin, that's his tail. And there's his fins on the side. And there's his two eyes up there. But that's how you would get a fish. And you didn't have to work to get that. You got it with the shape of the brush. It's all in how you twist it. So those are all ways to use, and that's why you have different brushes. I tend to pick out whatever brush I'm wanting that day feel like, and then I tend to use it mostly throughout my whole painting. But this painting, it's a small, it's only 7 inches around, and then I've gone into the center of that, so I'm probably down to, let's see if I can pull this down. There we go. I'm down to just the maybe 4 inches here. So I don't want to, you have to focus, stupid camera. There we go. I don't just want to have one size. It's a little harder. Although I could probably do the whole painting with this number 8 because it's a good brush, has a good belly and to hold the water and the paint, and then it has a great tip on it. And those are the kind of things you want. Let's see. I can't see where I have. That's a different one. Here's one. Let me see. That is the stem there. I erased so much of it I can't even see it. There we go. It doesn't really matter because these aren't like the main things. I'm just using them to add some cooler color to it and to break up kind of the darkness that's going to be around here. And it needs one down here. And I'm going to go off. So I used this color. And then I took some of that orange and made it much browner. There we go. Oh, that's going to be really, I jabbed it off a bit on my paper towel. And I want it to come out. I don't want it to be within the confines of that, of the moon itself. I want it to have more interest and provide something more for you to look at. And so I do have that one down a little bit, which is okay. I think this one's going to be right there. Then I have this one right here. Oh yeah, and this is kind of where the stem ends for that one. Now I have some funny shapes over here that I'm going to put in. And I do think I will switch back to the little one because it'll be easier to make kind of wispy grass-like structure. And I want it to be, so I'm going to get some yellow ochre here. Then I'm going to get one of my darker greens. Yeah, look at that color. And I'm going to hold my, this brush tends to hold water droplets right there. So you need to make sure you're watching out for that. So I want these grass pieces to kind of come up and around. And I'm going to put them in different spots. They're not necessarily planned out per se. I had drawn some, but like, I need a few more in here. So I'm going to just have them come up and out over like that. My brush is getting dry and my paint is getting dry. So I went back into my water and then down there. And I have these over here. I'm going to put one that comes, maybe a couple that come out like that. I'm just lightly putting those in. They may not even show once we're done. I'm going to put a couple over here because it'll just add some interest and it'll make it more of a cohesive design. So they'll probably not show much when I'm in the final push of this, but that's okay. And then I'm going to put a few over on this side. And by using this little brush and keep watering down the paint color, it's getting lighter and lighter, but it's still there. I'm going to have a piece come out here and over here. And then I have a few over here, just around the base where there's of the mushrooms. And there, like that. So the greenery is not the main focal point here, but I did want to make sure I got some of that in. This right here, I'm not sure how I got that color, but I'm gonna, the stem here, doesn't need to, I need to get that in better. It goes down here. So that I'm doing, and it's not precise, and I'm going to bring that color up under here. It's very light. I tend to build up layers like that, especially when I'm doing something like this where I'm not exactly sure how I want it to look. I will go in and play with it for a little bit and see. This mushroom is going to be pretty plain. This is just like a little button one. So I may not do much more with that one. He does need a stem that's a different color. And I do want it a browner color because I want it to show up against the green. And I'm just going to kind of put it down in here. It's not exact. Then I have this one that's more of an orange stem. And this is one of those tall, skinny ones. And he kind of goes back down in here somewhere. So that's pretty good. And then you see that stem for that one. And it was a brown. So I just... I don't use a real limited palette necessarily. But I do try and make sure that the colors I'm using I repeat throughout. So there's no question that like it's a cohesive look. Most of it's dry, so I'm not having much problem with it spreading. Oops. Got paint on that. Let's see. I need my bigger brush. I'm going to get I think I need some more. I'm going to make an orangey red over here. So I pulled out straight red and then I added some orange next to it. And then I want it really watered down. And I'm going to add some of that to my moon structure here. I'm not exactly sure how moony it'll look in the end, but a harvest moon is orange, especially if you have pollution or fire pollution in the air, which we have had the last few years here in Colorado coming down. And so I want to add some of this in here. There we go. I will go back with some yellow. I know it looks blue right there, but that's just the clear. That is just the clear paint. And where it is just some paper that hasn't been touched with paint much. So I went in and I added a different yellow. This is more of a golden yellow. And I'm just doing that and touching it in. I will probably, I'm going to pull it down because we have the moon that goes around down here. I do want that bolder color down there, but I will probably get this wherever I like it and the colors and all of that. And then I will probably go in and drop some water droplets in there and let it cause what's called cauliflowering. Don't know why that was having trouble coming out of my mouth, but it was. And that's something that you can choose not to show in your paintings with watercolor. In the old days, that was considered taboo to have cauliflower. That's where the paint kind of runs. I like the effect, and with a moon, I think that's definitely what we need. I'm going to let this dry. I don't want it to turn green, but I am going to add blue in there too. I did add the red and the brown. So I need to let that dry. So we're going to work on that red one now. I will go in and probably add white splotches to my red because, you know, that's the iconic mushroom, the red with the white polka dots or splotches. So you want it to look finished, but you want it to have the layers and the different shades. That is one thing. If you only have 6 colors, you have 3 primaries, which is red, yellow, and blue. So a split primary is where you have those colors that hint towards red or warm and hint towards blue or cool. And with those 6 colors, you can mix almost any color you want throughout the spectrum. You can't make tints. A tint is a color that has white added to it. In watercolor, we use the reflection of the paper for our white. So that you're not going to make, but you can use, and white watercolor is very chalky. So I would always encourage you to either use a white ink or a white gouache. And gouache is a type of watercolor. It was made for illustrators like Norman Rockwell. And so they could paint quickly, and it was still with water. It wasn't an oil-based paint. And so it just is not as translucent. It's very opaque. So a white gouache is a great thing to use, or I use white bleed-proof ink. Once you put that on, though, you're not going to be able to cover that up. So that's always like your last step to do. So I want this one to be more orangey. Oops. There we go. So I don't know if I'll finish this. I don't know what time it is. Oh, I've only been working on it an hour, so I've done pretty good. If I was doing the tutorial of it, I would edit out some of it, and I could bring it down to an hour. I don't edit though, because one, I have a very expensive computer that has no memory in it. So I did that. Thank goodness it was with an orange. Red would have stained it forever, but that orange isn't too bad. And I'm going to go back in with a dark color behind these anyway. So I took off the most I could, and then I'll go back here and I'll keep adding my orange here to this one. I want it to come around just a little bit in there. And you see I'm using, this is the biggest brush I've had out, the number 10. And I'm using it even though this isn't a huge thing, but the point is so good on it that it doesn't matter. And I like to kind of have the outline look. I don't know if I'll add ink to this afterwards. I may, once I finish it, take pictures of it and then add ink to it, or just do that through digitally. Don't know yet. No humper. Sometimes that's a good way to do it, to see what you got. There we go. I like that. I'm not a brown fan anyway. I have a specific brown that I like, and the rest of them are not brown. They're too orange for me, or too black or something. I like Crayola brown. Guess that says something about I grew up with, the 64 pack of Crayolas. I loved getting those. And I was always miffed because the sharpener on the back, that got fuzzy. Sorry. Nope. That wasn't what I wanted to do. Sorry. Take it back out one. Now do that one. You'd think as long as I've had this camera, like a year and a half, 2 years, that I would remember which way was which. I get it backwards, and that's just from my head injury. I have like dyslexia. So my husband said I'm monochromatic when I paint. That's why people watch me to go to sleep, he said. There. That one I might be pretty close to done with. Yay. Then this is dried. I got too much orange under there, so I'm going to get some of my brown that I was using for that one. I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to tone down that orange a little bit, because the bottoms of mushrooms aren't usually as brilliant as the tops. There, that's doing what I want it to do. So my paper's damp and I'm going in with a fairly damp brush and it's just pulling that color down into it. That looks pretty good. Now, this mushroom has where like it grew out. So it got taller here and it leaves that kind of ruffly in it, which I like the rufflies. So I tend to put them in all of my poor mushrooms because I just like them. Now, that red's looking pretty good. I do want some more colors. I want it more specific because it looks kind of pink because, well, one, this is scarlet. So it does have a pink cast to it. And two, I used a lot of water when I've been doing it. So I want to go back in and get some of these bumpies. And I will add white bumpies to it later. That will probably be after it's dried overnight because I don't want the white to spread. I want those dots to be pretty deliberate. So, and if you don't know, you can tell if your watercolor is actually totally dry by feeling it with the back of your hand. And you will feel if it's cold, then you know it's not dry yet. There, that's looking pretty good. You can see the different colorations in that. And I like that. And they're spreading out because it is damp. It's like damp to damp. And there we go. There. So this is the part that's going under, so it becomes a shadow area. So that's going to be pretty dark, remember, because your shadows are dark. So it's getting dark as it goes down there. And then I'm trying to add my brown. That was really dry. I don't know which brown I was using for this. I'll just try this one. So, yeah, that's the one. So this brown is more of, it has a gray in it. But that's good for mushrooms. And like I said, these aren't like scientific drawing mushrooms. Like that's not what I was going for. So it is, I don't even know if there's a mushroom that really looks like this, but in my head there is. So I've added that. Now I've kind of got the red done and I've got part of this bottom done. Now it's very wet, so I need to let it dry before I can go in and add more detail. So I think I'm going to work on some of the green now because I like the greens. Need some brown in that green. Okay, there we go. I don't know how much I'm going to work on the leaves. Like I said, the leaves were more of just a way to bring some cooler colors that are going to show up in the background. And that way it'll kind of ground it together. So they're not going to be real exact. So hold on, I'm going to take a drink. I do notice that I don't talk, to people the whole day. If I'm in my studio or whatever, and then I start losing my voice fairly easy. I was very happy today because I don't know if I can do those little ones, because I had a little headache, but I mean, it wasn't like I've been having. So I was able to come in here with not having a headache tonight. But we watched a movie. Were we watching a movie? I don't remember what we were watching. I watched a couple movies today. Two of them. One was a Liam Neeson, and those are always the same, But this one he was an air marshal. what was it? Taken, maybe? And they were setting him up as the bad guy, and he wasn't. So he had to prove that. That one wasn't bad. I've seen it before, though, I think. And the other one was River Wild. It was predictable and terrible. The acting wasn't great. But we watched that one, and then we went and got groceries. My husband had to pick up some medicine. And if I had thought about it, I would have gotten mine reordered, but I didn't. This one's a combination of all these colors, so I need to work on that. And he's kind of going this way. A paintbrush, I'm keeping it pretty dry because I don't want my colors to keep running into each other. And I want there to be some if we're going to be tight, let's be tight, right? Embrace it. Okay, that looks pretty good, actually. Okay, now I want this guy is going to come down here. Oh, I forgot those leaves are wet. I think maybe not too bad. There we go. That's not too bad, actually. And then it goes up into here. And then that brown, I'm going to need some of that brown to be blacker, I guess, so you can tell the difference. And so I'm pushing my paint up because it's wet. I don't want them to merge too much. So I'm going to dry my brush off. So my brush I wipe down with my paper towel in my hand, and I'm picking up the wetness there because I don't want them to merge. I want those colors to be separate. There we go. Okay, so that's good. Now I need a stem over here. I think I'm going to use probably the dark, which I used for the stems on those. I'm going to put it, ooh, that's black. I don't want it that bad. So I rinsed my brush off. I wiped it down, and I'm just going to spread that color here. And that'll be okay. That will be okay. So I got a big order in. If you hadn't seen it, I did do a preview for the Bee Boutique that I do at noon my time, but it's 2:00 Eastern on Thursdays. And let's see. Yeah, perfect. I got in another part of that order. It was a very big order. And so I was going through that while we were watching the movie. So I have stones and stones. I have diopside, which I showed on Sunday, I think is when I released that. I just didn't know I couldn't remember what it was. Chrome diopside is often referred to as the emerald of Russia because it's green like emeralds, but it doesn't tend to have the jardine, which is the garden in it, which is the inclusions that emeralds do. So I have some of that. I have diopside, and it's a pretty green. I have apatite, which is a really pretty teal blue. Oh my gosh, what else? I got onyx in. I got picture jasper. Oh, I don't know. I got tons of it in. I got amethyst. I was like, oh my God, I went a little overboard. But I also got tons of findings and charms. So I'm kind of excited to show them all. I know it'll take me a couple of weeks to get them all shown, even if I stay on a couple hours Thursday. But If you see anything in the preview that you want, let me know ahead of time. Put it in the comments. Oh, yes. And the comments today, the question of tonight for the comment for you is, my husband suggested it, is what would you like me to paint? Put it down in the comments and I will pick one of those and paint it next week. And I might even, as a treat, give the person who picked whatever it is that I paint, I might send them either a print of it or the original, depending on what it is. A fairy. Were you here when I did fairies with Kim? It was a disaster. But that could be something, yes. I think I finally threw that one away. I don't usually I have a folder that I keep most of my YouTube stuff in, and that one somehow made it to the trash. It was abysmal. That is one, if I do, if that would be one I would pick, I would drop of water on there is annoying me. I would definitely pre-do it. And they are hard, yes. Do you watch The Accidental Gypsy? Well, I don't know what her name is. She's out of England, and she does fairies. I can't think of her name. I just watched her on Sunday while I was working in here, too. But, yeah, she releases usually YouTube on Sundays. But she's also very active on Instagram. I think it's The Accidental Gypsy. She's in England. She used to be an art teacher, and then her and her husband packed up in a van before COVID and toured. So it's fun to watch her. I think they're looking to buy a house. Well, they've been looking for a house, but they might buy a cabin in the woods. And it's like off-grid kind of stuff. Serious. She did a, what would you call it? She did a video on it and showed us all. Yes, you follow her. Yeah, she's good. Let's see. Do you follow, who else? I know you watch Denise Love. There's another lady out of Canada that I watch. Oh, I can't think of her name. She used to be a nurse. She's a little neurotic. She'll even say she is. But she's fun to watch. She, unlike me, I am not a fast worker. That's not the kind of art I learned. Obviously, you guys are watching me now. You know I'm not fast. Taking forever to do this little painting. But that's just the way I work. I do usually have more than one thing going, though. Tonight, I only have this going. But she has like 5 or 6 going at one time. She's very prolific. And she's fun to watch. She does mixed media. She does do a lot of it with watercolor first, like I do. But she's very abstract. I'm just terrible with names. I'll have to look her name. Allison Derwin. Allison something like that. If you want me to put the link in afterwards, remind me in the comments after the video goes up. And I'll find her and put her in. She's fun to watch. She's new to YouTube. She's only been on it since June, I think. And she already has many thousand followers. I also watch, her name is Wendy. Yes, Wendy is her name. I just watched her yesterday, and she was alluding to the fact that they weren't sure that that's what they wanted. And they hadn't got it yet. So I don't know if they're going to get it or not. I think it would be, it seems like that's what they like. Although it was a very old and remote cabin, but I think they would probably enjoy it. And I know her husband travels for work. He does IT or something, she had said one time, and he helps her with her stuff. So, and then then the other person I like to watch, although I don't know, but I like to watch her. Her name is Amy, and she is the Cottage in the Wood, maybe. Yeah, well, I'm not going to rush it. I take forever. Amy is like that. Amy does watercolor, but she also does oils and acrylics, and she loves pastels. So she's a good one to watch, and I enjoy her. She's a little, well, everybody has their own opinions on like color fast and everything. Amy Bishop. I don't know if Bishop's her last name. She lives with her husband and her 2 boys, and I think she lives in like Idaho or somewhere above me in the Rockies. And so I like watching her because she isn't of the belief that you can't share how you do your art. She'll teach you anything she learns, and she's making stickers and on her Cricut, and she's showing us how to do that. So I'm happy about that because I want to learn. And she doesn't leave out steps, so I do like that a lot about her. But she is very worried about color, light fastness, and you can't sell stuff if it's not light fast. And I don't know. She has different beliefs about it than I do. But she's also new to YouTube, and she's got a huge Patreon following, and she makes good money off her videos already. So I mean, who am I to talk? I'm not even monetized. I don't think I'll ever reach there, but whatever. I would like to, because I now help pay the bills with my art again. And it's at times very stressful. So, especially when you make dumb mistakes and buy things you shouldn't buy. But I have a plan. The pocket watch I bought from you tonight, I have a plan for it. I don't think I'm going to resell it as it is. I think I'm going to recycle it or remake it, hence the do-overs part. And I want to make it as part of a statement piece on a necklace. And I think I'm probably going to keep it. I love watches. In high school, I think I collected every watch ad there was, and I love them. So I think that I will probably keep it for me, even though I don't wear gold. I'm gonna mix my metals on it, so it won't be all gold. And a lot of the pieces I make that are remakes of, I take apart stuff like Barbie does and then remake them. A lot of those pieces are mixed metals, just because of the virtue of that they're recycled pieces. So I've started doing a lot of those because I haven't been using my torch and doing other things. So I've been making a lot of jewelry lately, which it uses a different part of my brain. And it uses my hands differently. So I like to, that's why I like both jewelry, beading, and metalsmithing. So I've been doing a lot of that. Plus my bead sales are where I make a lot of my money right now, which is good. I just invested a boatload. When I sell pieces from, like I make on here, I've sold a few of them to some people. And when I sell my jewelry, all of that stuff, 90% of it probably is reinvested right back into my business. I do auctions occasionally. Well, I do them quite often, 3 or 4 a month on other people's channels. So that's what that's looking like. I don't particularly like how dark this ended up. I'm adding some green to it because it got too black, but that's okay. It's gonna blend in. So I am going to, let me see. Okay, my water is pretty clean. I'm gonna go in here and I'm just getting it fairly wet, and I'm just kind of going around what I've painted. Now I've got it very wet again, and I'm going to go in here. That's all right. Let's see. What blue is this one? Not the blue I want. What blue is this one? Oh, that's too blue. It's too turquoise. Is this green or blue? I don't have my thing in here that shows. I actually think that might be the blue I want. We'll see. I don't have my swatch card in here. I don't know where it is. I may have to make a new one for this. When I take my paints out, they often, if the swatch card doesn't stay stuck to them or it's not on the inside of my thing, I will lose them. That's the perfect blue. I got the right one. So I'm just going in here so that it gets in between those. Right now I'm not doing I'm just dropping the color, and I'm not making whatever or making it be something. I'm just dropping color in. And some of it's darker, some of it's lighter. That's okay. Right now I'm doing the blue. If you get too much, you can always, that's why I have a paper towel. I want it to kind of be cloudy. I want it to be atmospheric. Oops, see, now I got red in there, which is okay because I was thinking of adding some purple, but I want to have control over that. I don't want it to do it. I do want some blue in here because that orange where I dropped my brush has to be fixed. So it will be. Red is very staining. There are every color that's staining. So you do want to know that about your colors. That's why when I do my big swatches of each color, I see how they pull off after after they've dried. I go back in and try and pull them off the paper. And oops, there's a hair in there. I don't know what that's from. It's not a brush hair. It's right there. The hair will actually pull your color in if you don't get it out. I think I got it. Okay. And you don't want like a hairline there. Well, you may. If you want, if it doesn't matter to you, then don't worry about it. But I didn't want a hairline there. So it's going to be darker around the shape itself. So that's where I'm going in and dropping some more in. So far, I'm just using the one color blue in different values of that blue. And I'm getting that just by, Some of it's hitting some of the browns, and that's coming out of it, which is okay. And the red there you saw. Other of it is just how much water I'm adding in and stuff. So I'm not going to paint the whole circle blue. I'm just going to, or, for the background, I'm going to have it fade out. I'm going to do some up here. Oops. Blue and yellow make green, and I don't want green. Green is not a sky color, so I will have to fix that. But, so I drop the color in close to there, and then the color will pull out where there's water. So I just roll my brush around, and then I let it flow where it's going to flow. I think I have some down here. Yep. When I'm not on camera, I can see where my water is better because I can get over my piece. But while I'm on camera, it's harder. So there we go. I don't have any up there. I did use the same color blue, but I'm going to go in and add a different blue to give it some depth. I don't know if I'm going to do the purple. I might add Payne's Gray, which is a black blue. It's the black that watercolorists use. It's called Payne's Gray. I like neutral tint better. Now this over here is flowing. That's okay because in the end that's going to add to making the shape look not flat. But I need to clean that up and it's annoying me. So yeah. If the sky turns green and people don't understand that, they're like, it can't turn green. I'm like, yeah, it turns green. That's when you stop watching the storm and you go down in the basement or wherever your designated storm area is. You're right. It even does that here in Colorado. It's just an atmospheric thing. It happens because of the clouds and such. It's the way the light bends. You definitely don't want to be outside when there's green light. You are right about that one. You are. And actually, storm atmosphere is my favorite. After the storm's passed and the sun's coming out, and it's got that real weird kind of bluey tinge. I love that. That's when I like it. That's when I like taking pictures. And actually, golf course pictures, if you're just doing pictures for your family, going out to a golf course towards the end of the day in the evening light gives you really good light for pictures. I learned that accidentally when my aunt and uncle, who were my mom's sister and brother-in-law, had their, 50th or 60th wedding anniversary at the local golf club, because they lived in a town of like 400. I don't know, it's smaller than that even, I think, but Waterville. And so there was a golf course place, and they had their party out there, and Jeffrey was 2 or 3. Well, we still lived in Kansas, so I think he was 2. And the pictures of him turned out so awesome that I learned that. I did not get to I do have an art degree, but I did not take photography, even though I love photography, because I couldn't afford the camera and all the fees that go along with it. So everything I know about photography. Well, I worked at a Moto Photo, which was a 1-hour picture development place. If you're old, you know what that is. I was saying that to someone the other day, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" So I knew they were young. But yeah, I worked there and I learned a lot about cameras and filming and that kind of stuff. Actually was the assistant manager there for the summer. And that was just because I was the only one that was responsible besides the manager. And I was more responsible than him even. So, but that was a fun job. I loved that. So I was glad I got to do that. I had to work from the day I turned 16. Before I was 16, I worked for my dad in his office doing secretarial kind of crap. So I've worked since I was probably 12. Had to go dress up. He worked in a bank building. He was a life insurance and financial planner. And so I would make appointments for him and do that stuff on my days off from school and during the summers. And I got paid for it. I didn't get allowance once I could start doing that stuff. So I've got a very wet brush and I'm just adding different blues. I have 4 blues in my collection over here on this paint. And so I'm just going in and adding different ones of those to give it hopefully the look that I want. I don't know if this will even turn out. I'm thinking that no matter what happens, I'll be able to save it with some outlining and maybe the Posca pen or my Uniball Signos, something like that. I'll be able to save it somehow. So I don't. My husband suggested something to paint today because he always asks what I'm going to do for my late night arting and stuff. And, is checking what I'm working on and stuff. And he told me, and I was like, I may be good, but I'm not that good. And I've only failed twice, really like bombed when I've been live. One of them was the fairy. That was just utter. And that was right when I first started with Kim Veazey, who hopefully she's getting something done with her teeth. And then hopefully she'll be back. She has to have that surgery. She told me in September. So hopefully by October she'll be better and we can start doing it again. But so I bombed with the fairy, and that was when we first started. And then I made a tree. Oh my gosh. I have the tree still. It was just horrible though. I think I don't know if I was by myself that time or if I was with Kim, but it was just horrible. I made some other trees that weren't great, but was it you that bought them, Cindy? I don't know. Somebody bought those from me. I've sold some of those stuff. But I'm always like, oh, you're interested? Okay, sure. So you could see the blues are different blues here. I've got more of the turquoise over here. This is more of the cobalt or ultra. Oh, there's another. That one brush must be this brush that is leaving some things on there. But so I have sold some of my stuff. Like I said, just the other day I ordered a pink binder. It's like 8.5 by 11. Or I don't want red. I'm gonna do yellow. I think it's like 11 by or 12 by 9 or something. And it's just like a page protector kind of thing. And I've been keeping my, I'm going to put all my YouTube things in there. So I'll have that because it's nice to have them all together. So I've had people ask, can you make one like you did? And I'm like, I have no idea what one you're talking about. Because now I've been doing art on YouTube I started 2 years ago. So after COVID. But I used to do it before. But like I said, I totally did that channel different than I do this one. And I did talk about the interview with an artist, and I may start doing that again just because I had fun doing it. But I'd like to include like people like you, Cindy, and Elizabeth, and other artists that I know online. Kim and her art, and just there's many of you out there, and I want to interview you guys too. That would be different because I think that would be more like a oh no, look at the blue, it's turning green. I didn't realize it was so wet. That is one of the problems with watercolor, is you can't work at it. You bought the trees, yeah. Yes, I knew somebody did. Couldn't remember. Although I pretty much remember who bought most everything, any of my pieces from me. Even my jewelry stuff, I remember people who bought that. It's funny how I can't remember somebody's name, but I can remember the piece of jewelry you had on, or that you bought from me, or whatever. I thought you had organized. I noticed you got up to do something, check on your hubby or whatever. And I noticed that you looked like you had cleaned a lot in your room. Behind you, all the desk was clear, and I could see your shelves and they weren't crooked. I was like, Cindy's been working in your thing, in your room. I could tell. You need to come up here to Colorado and work in mine for me. I think I'm getting there, and then something happens, and I don't like this green that's coming out of my blues. I may have to stop this. I may have oversaturated the stuff. This may be done for the night. I don't know. We'll have to see. Oh, you got a new cart. Is it like the Raskog carts from, well, they were originally at IKEA, and then everybody makes them now. I have several of those. They don't seem to work for me. They just seem to cause a disaster. So I am going to use one of the ones I have for the top thing. I'm going to put my sewing machine in it, and because it makes the top, when it sits in the basket, it's perfect because you're sewing at the level of the thing. So I'm going to do that. That's how I figured I could have my sewing machine out upstairs. And then below it, I'll probably have bobbins and, the stuff you have to have for sewing. And that'll be nice because I really like the effect of sewing on paper. Although I've never done it, I really like the way it makes journals look. So I do want to be able to do that. Although I really don't do journals. I like making tags, and I love doing envelopes. My husband thinks I'm weird. I was showing him. He's like, why are you making those? I'm like, because I like making the envelopes. What color are you? You are a black. So I need you to be blue black. There we go. So yeah, I want to do that. I watch Gail Augustinelli. I found her because of Carrie, and she sews a lot of her stuff, and I like that. I like the way that looks. So her videos come out at midnight my time. So I love to watch her before I go to bed, but then it's almost 1 when I go to bed. So I've been trying to be a day behind on her stuff so that I can have it to watch when I get up instead of when I go to bed. Plus, right now I'm reading a book. When we went on vacation, I started reading again. I used to read like 60 to 100 and some books every year. I think 120 was my most. When I do art, I don't read as much. I still read, but not near as much. So I'm using the middle brush right now, the middle-sized one, and I don't like the way it is creating my clouds. I don't like it. I watched Natasha too. She's the one, she made the big buttons. And I love buttons. How stupid, I know, but I do love buttons. So she made some great big buttons out of paper and stuff. I love that. I watch the Paper Outpost. Is her name Pam? She's in Florida with her dog. Jeff, my husband, Jeff, he like thinks it's hysterical because she pulls the dog up and talks for him. He's like, oh my God, that woman's nuts. I'm like, no, she just has fun. I think her name's Pam. But I watch her. I don't watch usually. What's her name? She's in Italy. Gail loves her. Gail does her challenges. I bought a thing from her, but I don't watch her necessarily. But actually, I don't watch. I go through spurts where I watch a lot of people and then I don't. So I'm just using this to go over places. This paper is way too wet. I'm going to have to stop on it. I'm going to pull you up so you can see what it looks like. Marguerite Miller. I'm in Marguerite's. She has a group on something. It's not YouTube or whatever. I don't know what it is, but I joined that group so I could do hers. And I watch Beth. And then what's her name? Dee Dee Willingham. Dee Dee's fun. I found her through Keisha. She does Barbie doll photography, but she's a very good artist and has been streaming live since like 2008 or something and been on YouTube since 2014 or something. So I really like Dee Dee Willingham. She's on Mondays and Wednesdays. So she'll be on Wednesday. So she's fun to watch, I think. Although she can talk a lot, and I like watching people create more than I like watching them talk all the time. And she's an enabler. Every time I watch her, I spend money. I used to. I don't anymore. I don't have as much money. So this is Giddy there. It's pretty not dimensional. It's pretty one flat. It's starting to ripple a little. So I know and you can see how shiny it is all over. So it's way too wet. I can't keep working on it. What time is it? It's not even 11:30 yet. But so I think I'm going to call it for tonight because I got to let this dry some. And I may be getting tired. That might be some of it. I do have, I'm going to flip you up for a second so you can see. Oh, that's right. It's upside down when I do it this way. There we go. So where are we at? This is like an 18 by 12 maybe piece of paper. And I was doing, this is old. I started this probably 2 or 3 years ago. Does it say? This is rough paper and it's a lime. I messed up this part of it, but the way I do things now, I'm going to go in and fix it. So that's okay. I'm going to work on that. And then this one, oh yeah, you can't see it. This is a peacock that I took a picture of when I was with my granddaughter, Harley, at the zoo here in Denver. Let's see, there's a straighter. So you can see I drew it, and I can tell from my drawing how I was going to do it, but I'm not going to do it that way anymore. I'm going to do it more in my loose style, and with lots of water and a lot more of dropping in color and having it more abstract looking. So I'll be working on this too. I do have a new rig that my husband's making for me so that it will sit up, and I can have, I probably won't use this camera. I have a couple other cameras or my phone, and it'll be up high enough that I can work on these big pieces. And this one doesn't have a date on it either. I did put what kind of paper. It's Buckingford extra rough 425 GSMs. So it's a very thick, heavy paper. That's why I'm going to do lots of water and dropping in colors and stuff on it. So I will be doing that. I pulled these two out. I have like a million. I get these started, and then something will distract me, squirrel, and I'll but I have them ready for days when I don't necessarily know what I'm going to do and I need to just paint, because creativity builds on creativity. So the more you use your creativity, the more creativity you will have. So I have these ready. These are called hardboards, but you just want a nice hard surface, and you can tape your paper down to it and start your paintings on it. But if you do them on these, you can move them around, so you're not stuck with just one piece. I use anything like this. I find the signs that you have out in the yard that are they're like foam core, only they're plastic. Those are perfect to watercolor on. And then clipboards and stuff like that I use to do this and have paint on. So I always have tons and tons of next to me. I probably have 15 or 20, maybe probably 15 and maybe 20 pieces that I've sketched or have notes to start. So that way, when the days I'm not feeling real creative, I can do something like that. So those are some of the things that are coming. Now that's backwards. Hold on, I'm going to flip it around. There you go. Oh, okay. It needs to go that way. So that's what that's looking like on the 7-inch circle. The circle was fun. I don't know if I can do more things that aren't like, this is pretty linear, a moon is a circle, even though it's a crescent. So that fit really well on this. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'll have to think about how I could do other things with the circle. I have 23 other pages to play with now. I know I can't use a lot of water like I started using in the background, although I really like the effect that's coming out of it. So, and these are turning out pretty good. And it needs splatter. The moon needs more definition put in, how it has the craters and you can kind of see different modeling effects of it. So I need to go in and do some more of that. And the background will be much more dynamic by the time I'm done. But it's looking pretty good. It's kind of messy and indifferent down here, but maybe if I go in there with a graphite pencil or one of my watercolor pencils, I can define it better. We'll see. So I'll probably work on that tomorrow. And I'll try and I'll take a picture of it tonight. So this is how it was after working on it for 2 hours. And then I'll try and take a picture of it after I work on it another hour. I don't know. It'd probably only take me about another hour, maybe hour and a half to finish it all. But that doesn't include like drying time, because this will have to all dry before I can go in with graphite or colored pencil. So, but I'm pretty happy with this paper, I must say. So we'll see where that goes. And I noticed I didn't have a thumbnail up for tonight. So until I came in here at 9:15, duh, Kristen, you need to do that. So I will get the thumbnails up for the next 6 weeks or something, so that they're out there and about. This was a clean paper towel, so I'm going to let that dry tonight too. I always keep a couple of them out and about, so I will have those. And I'll leave my paints. I'll probably just leave my whole setup like this and leave it here for tonight. Everything will dry, and then tomorrow I can come back and start again. So that's kind of what I do. I did a video on how to make some Halloween earrings. These are 2 of the ones I made. So I have kits available. So this is stainless steel that has been treated with like a titanium color wash. And it's a feather and a skull. And then this has a crystal skull on it. And then it has a feather with a rose and a little stainless steel CZ on it, and the hat. So you could use it for Day of the Dead too. I have friends that will wear this all year round. It doesn't really matter. So it corrupted or something once it went on YouTube. So I have to remake that tomorrow because I'm not feeling like doing it tonight. But I also have 2 other pair of earrings I've made, or 3. So that'll be one video. And then I also have a video on some fall/Halloween bracelets that I made. And it'll be 3 of those. So hopefully I'll get those out this week. And all of those will be kits, and they'll be available to buy. And all of the beads and stuff are available too, if you just need a certain part of them. So that's kind of what I've been up to. Make sure that after you watch this, whether it's live tonight or during the week sometime, that you leave a comment and tell me what you would like me to make in the future, paint. And then I can start doing your requests. That'll help me. I won't have to come up with stuff, although it's been fun to have to come up with stuff too. So I appreciate you all for coming in and seeing me and watching, no matter when you're doing it. And I hope you guys all have a great week. And I look forward to seeing you again next week in my studio. Have a great evening and see you next time. Bye.